Welcome to Gimme A Song. I'm Jeff Phipps, your host. This is the podcast where I bring people who are my friends or that I'd like to think of my friends on, and they give me a song. So the one thing I do want to point out at the beginning of the show is that in order for this to really work or to make sense, you got to go listen to the songs. The links will be on the YouTube channel or the feed, or you can look them up. The whole origin of the show is that when you get done with the show, usually you're hanging out with your friends, having a drink or two, talking about stuff. And a friend of mine mentioned a song that he wanted me to hear. And I was like, oh, well, then you got to hear this song. And then like 6 months later, I was like, I want to do this with everybody I know. So here we are. Today we have one of my friends. If you would introduce yourself and tell me what you do, that would be great.
I thought you forgot my name for a second.
No.
My name is Jack Wright. I'm a local St. Louis stand-up comic. I've been doing it about 3 years. Just rocking and rolling. Pretty cool. Things are good. I do stand-up.
You do stand-up.
I do stand-up, yeah.
So Jack, what is your biggest accomplishment as a stand-up comic?
My biggest accomplishment? Making my parents get it. Because they got the full spectrum. The first time they ever saw me do stand-up was at Wing It Wednesday.
Yeah.
At Legacy.
Yeah.
It was still daylight out. There was like 4 people in there. I bombed my fucking dick off. I had a white shirt that was stained pink from like the laundry. But after that, they've seen me do bigger and bigger shows.
Yeah.
And then I recently won St. Louis's Funniest at Helium, which is pretty cool.
I thought you were going to lead with that. It's kind of interesting that you didn't. So Wing It Wednesday is a local. So we're in St. Louis. I'm based out of St. Louis. Eventually I'll take the show on the road or something. I don't know. I'd like to reach out to more people, but everything's been St. Louis based. Wing It Wednesday is a mic at a bar. Really, it's in the sidebar. And they call it Wing It Wednesday because the place where they actually have the mic is a wing shop. So
shout out Too Much Sauce.
Too Much Sauce. Great. Their wings are amazing. And as a choice, how did you end up at Wing It Wednesday for your first open mic? Because it's not a club mic. Because usually a lot of people start at a club mic. Like I started, my first open mic was Hey Guys in Belleville, which is on the east side. And because it was on the same side of the river, like I really didn't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of comics don't. They're like, I saw a show. I always wanted to do stand-up comedy. I did. I really did. And I'm older. I started later. And I saw a show and I saw people on stage and I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
I was like, if this is the bar to get on stage, I'm pretty sure I could clear that.
Yeah.
And so I started Hey Guys, and then, you know, the club shut down or whatever. And then I entered the Funny Bones competition, not the Helium competition. And Rafe Williams, of all people, was like, he's like, do you go to mics? And I was like, no. And I was like, why don't I go to mics? And surprisingly, I advanced because I brought enough people the first time, which was a terrible thing in hindsight, because then I was like, oh, this happens to me every time. And it doesn't, you don't always advance, or you don't always win. You don't have to worry about that ever again.
No, it's all behind me now.
No, but tell me, it's all in the rear view. Dude, you are the reigning funniest guy in St. Louis, or comedian. Let's be, let's keep it male or female out of it. You are the funniest comedian in St. Louis right now. You wear the crown. Heavy as the head.
Yeah. Find out who your friends are real quick. Tell you what.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are people mad?
No, I mean, I don't think so.
Okay, so what do you mean by that? Oh, I'm curious.
Well, I walked up to another comic recently, and I don't talk to them much, but she was like, hey, I just wanted to say congratulations, and I'm sorry people are talking shit. And I was like, well, I heard.
I had no idea.
I had no clue. But
I haven't heard anybody complaining, me personally.
Yeah.
I'm not like, deep into the woods as other people are. I have a job, I have a life.
Yeah.
I don't get to work. I don't get to work out as much as other people. But it's interesting. Yeah, you find out who's jealous of you or who's not, I guess, or maybe you don't, or then somebody just does that. Needles you. There could have been nothing behind that.
Yeah.
But now you're like
exactly
side-eyeing people. It's like maybe it's you.
No, I mean I don't really care, and that's the thing about comics too. Is just we're gonna talk shit no matter what, and and all of my friends, I'm sure when I won St. Louis Funny, they're like, "Oh, this fucking guy," and I get it, but I don't know, it's cool. I started doing stand up. Like I've always wanted to, but during the pandemic, everything shut down, and I was like in school, but I was like, clearly, I'm gonna fucking drop out. Like this is not gonna make it.
Yeah,
everything stopped, and I was like, okay, society is fake. It's a that's a real stoner opinion to have, but like
No,
everything can fall apart so fast. It's just like, why not do what you actually want to do? And
to be as young as you were, and for this to happen, I mean, my kids basically grew up during the pandemic, and you know my son, and I don't know if you met my daughter, but you worked with my son, which we don't have to get into. But anyway, you know us, like we're friends, we're genuinely friends. You know my family and stuff, but. To grow up at your age, you know, to be 20 and then the pandemic hit, I don't know how I would have handled that.
Yeah,
honestly. And so like maybe it would have accelerated my comedy career, or maybe it just been like, you know, I'm on the wrong ride and I want off. You know,
I had both stages because like of course everything shut down and like teachers, they don't care if you're submitting stuff. And I worked at Emo's Pizza with my parents, so just during the day I was like drinking hard as fuck and smoking, and I was gaining weight like crazy too. So like at one point I caught myself in the mirror and I had a glass of wine in my hand and a pipe and a grill lighter, and I was wearing a bathrobe and I was just fat as fuck, and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, it's 11:45 a.m. I need to change some stuff. So I lost 60 pounds. Nice. And then the only open mic that was open was Backdoor Comedy. Now closed. Now it's Tap House, I think. Yeah. And I went there and like it was just comics. I bombed my fucking cock off.
So that was your first open mic?
That was my first open mic.
So Wednesday was the first time your parents saw you?
Yeah. Okay. After the pandemic, everything opened back up. Yeah. And Funny Bone had their mic going, and I lied and I said it was my first time at Funny Bone, and that was my real like first open mic, because I feel like there was actually people there and I was a little bit more prepared. Yeah. So ever since then, like Ronaldo was there, he told me I was funny, and just kept doing it. And then my dad's a musician, so he was like, why are you going and performing and not getting paid? Yeah. And I'm like, well, I suck at this, I have to go to open mics to get better. Right. And he just couldn't compute it. He's like, if you're going somewhere for free, why would people go see you? Yeah. They can catch you any night of the week for free. And I'm like, well, nobody should see me. Right. This should be kept under wraps until. Now, to get this out here now, because when we talk about your song, I think we will be talking more about your dad. Your dad is a local musician here in town, and he's in a performing band that performs almost every weekend, right? Yeah, every night of the week almost. He's retired. He used to be a teacher. And he just retired, so now he's gigging hard. And he plays at Broadway Oyster Bar in St. Louis, if you ever go there. But all over town, a whole bunch of different bands. He's got his band like Alligator Wine. Yeah. Okay. A lot, but so shout out Alligator Wine. Shout out. I used to gig with him. I started playing music when I was like 5 or 6. My grandmother used to be like a touring like Christian like gospel singer. Oh wow! For a little bit. My dad played music too. And so I picked up guitar because I had no friends in middle school. I changed schools. Okay. Picked up banjo, mandolin, and bass and saxophone. And that's awesome. So I wanted a minor in music when I went to school, but I was like, I'm not pretentious. What was your major while you were in school? What were you wanting to do? Originally, when I went to school, I followed a girl. It was a bad idea. I majored in communications, and I was trying to minor in music. Yeah. And I wanted to be like a music critic. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to do that. But then I moved to UMSL, and I hopped over to a business degree because it was just kind of the most general. Yeah. Kind of something. But so you really didn't want to go to college? Not at all. Although, you know, I did study communication. I actually worked at a radio station for 2 years. And they were like, you could continue to study communications, or they're like, you can go get any other degree you want. You already know what you need to know. Yeah. Like I worked in the newsroom for 2 years. I covered sports, I covered news, and like interviewed people and stuff like that. So they're like, you're good. Yeah. Like you don't need and you know how to write. Exactly. And so it's like, you don't really need this, you know, it's just, it gets your foot in the door at a radio station where you really don't get paid. Where we're talking about not getting paid. It's weird that your dad said like, play for, he was mad at you because you weren't, comics don't get paid money. So you're, you're going to be like the 7th or 8th person on the podcast or whatever. And we've talked a lot about it. In general, it's just like, there's just no money in comedy for real. Not to start, there may be, but a lot of doors have to open. A lot of luck has to happen. Yeah. But musicians, there's no money in music to start with either. Not really. Yeah. But with music, it's easier to convince like a bar or just at any venue, just like, hey, we play music. Yeah. You want music on your patio. Right. Throw us, and they always have a budget, so bands can pull a little bit of money, especially since they're bringing multiple people. They have all their gear that they need to pull in. So like My dad, like, he can play like a Jimmy Buffett tribute night, which doesn't sound glamorous, but he'll make way more money than I will a week of stand up,
right?
You know, in one night.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's true. And I mean, there's also a lot of, you know, not to say there's not a talent involved in what we do.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, there's certainly a writing component. There's a performance component. I'll tell you after this. I thought of a roast for a guy about that.
Yeah.
Don't let me forget.
Okay.
Because I don't want to name the person here, and I don't know him that well. But anyway, have
a nice Cat Williams moment. Why not?
Let's throw all the other comics under the bus.
These motherfuckers in this thing. I can't do a Cat Williams.
No, please don't. But you know, but it's funny. Like he talks about, if you move to Nashville tomorrow, those people have to work for tips.
Yeah.
Like every single bar in Nashville, there's lines out the door for bands, and so they don't make the bar doesn't have to pay you.
Yeah.
Like your goal in Nashville is to get booked at a bar, and then they pass around a bucket and they're like $20 will play anything.
Yeah.
The talent there is that they can play anything pretty reasonably well. I mean, I love going to Nashville and I love seeing bands playing there. But that kind of thing, it's kind of funny that like he's like, well, you know, you should just be getting paid, and it's like, well, if you were in certain areas, you would just be behind the 8 ball too. You know,
well, like with stand up too, it's like we're the only art form, and it sucks that it's hard to call it an art form because you tell somebody like, yeah, I'm a comedian, this is my art, and you're like, well, okay, I've heard you talk about abortion, let's not.
Right.
But we're the only art form that requires the audience. Like that's our instrument. It's like playing people, and it takes so long to like get good at. Like I'm 3 years in, but you know,
and I'm not much further ahead of you. Honestly, I started like right before the pandemic. And so
everybody says you need to be like 10 years in to like.
That's what Seinfeld says. Seinfeld says you can't call yourself a comic before you're 10.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he also he wants masculinity to come back, and I'm always like, I've never thought masculinity Seinfeld, you know.
I honestly, when you ask me to describe somebody of like, you know, pure masculinity and testosterone, Jerry Seinfeld, immediately 1A.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a lot of issues going on, and that's just from age, and that's from getting away with some of the things he got away with.
Yeah. It's
like you had the #1 show in America, and you're dating a 16-year-old, and everybody was just like, yeah, that's fine. And so you know my fiance, and
she's 16.
Right. Anyway, and I got her she loves Seinfeld, the show, not Jerry specifically. Yeah. And so I got her the Lego set. You've seen the Lego set, right? They have, so they have a Seinfeld Lego set, and it has Kramer and everybody else, and it's the apartment. Yeah. And she put it together, and I was like, as soon as she got done putting it together, I'm like, hey, did you know Jerry dated a 16-year-old? Like I waited, I just watched her put it together. It was like a gift, and I was just like waiting. And as soon as that last piece went in, I was like, oh, by the way, did you know he's a scumbag kind of, and he hates everyone else?
Yeah. There's a few of those in music. Jimmy Page had a fucking like 14-year-old.
Not only did he he took the 14-year-old into his house and wouldn't let her out.
Oh yeah.
And until she aged up, and he was just like, "You can't do nothing. She's in the house."
Yeah.
And like, of course, you thought the police would go in and get her out or whatever, but the parents were on board.
Oh yeah.
So that's the move. Apparently, I mean, I'm not condoning any of this.
That's the move. Keep them in your house.
Right. Hold them hostage. My fiance is well over the age of consent.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Let's just dig the shovel. You're the one who said 16. Yeah. She's 17.
Yeah, I was watching, Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Did you not know this before you watched the thing? When did you find this out? That's what I wanted to know.
About his 13-year-old cousin. I've known it for a while because, all those country guys and stuff, like big fans, of course. And then, like, have you ever watched Tales from the Tour Bus?
No.
Oh, dude, it's great.
What is it? Tell me about it.
It's Mike Judge, Beavis and Butthead, King.
Yeah.
So he has one season on old country guys like Waylon Jennings, Jerry Lee, Billy Joe. The next season's about funk musicians. Okay. And like he interviews their backing band. Their
wow, that's really cool. They just get, what is this on so I can find it?
It's really hard to find right now. I think it's Cinemax is the only place, but I just watch it on YouTube all the time. But it's a documentary, but it's animated all the stories.
Oh no, that's great. That sounds great.
Actually play out. But,
my dad's a big old country guy. I wonder if he knows about this.
It's really good. And they interview the 13-year-old, and she's like, "Yes, I'm the child bride." Like, she's just so like, yeah, this is my story.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a crazy. Elvis was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was she, 15 or something when they first met?
Yeah.
But they didn't do nothing.
No.
Nothing at all.
Mm-hmm. Especially back in the South, it's just like, yeah, man, this is the one chick I know.
Yeah, right. But he didn't even like. He met her in Germany, wasn't that?
Oh, really?
Yeah. She was a military kid.
Okay.
And he met her in Germany.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, people. Okay, look, I don't know Elvis's backstory that well.
Germany, Archer said it. I think it was like the Alabama of Europe.
Yeah.
13-year-old. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk country. All right. So the show's called "Give Me a Song." Again, whatever song he's going to say here is the song. This is the first song he gave me, and then I respond with the song. But we're going to talk about his song first. What was the song you gave me?
"Keep It Between the Lines."
And who's it by?
Sturgill Simpson.
And it is a fun song.
It is a very fun song.
I'm not a big country guy, but I can adapt. This isn't really country.
No,
it's not that twangy. It's more like Nathaniel Ratcliffe kind of big band. You have the horn section and everything else. Such a fun song though. It just catches you right from the beginning. The guys are like humming the theme, and then they go right into the horns playing the theme, which is a great one. Why did you send this to me? What is the significance?
Well, the album itself that it's part of, it's a letter from Sturgill to his son, like from the road, and he used to be in the Navy, so he kind of makes it like.
And what's the name of the album so people can check it out?
Sailor's Guide to Earth. I'm pretty sure.
All right.
But it's a whole concept album, and
yeah.
When I was in high school, like college, I was not a good student at all, and I'm sure you guys probably did at your school. At the end of every term, if you had a C or below, the parents would get like an email.
Oh, so like I was emancipated. Okay, so I don't know if you know my backstory or not. Not everybody does. I went right into the Air Force, like immediately. Like 11 days after I graduated high school, I was getting yelled at in San Antonio, Texas. And then I got out, and everybody was like, "You need to go to college." And I was like, "I was a terrible." You talk about terrible high school students. I graduated out of 150 kids. I graduated 100th.
Oh.
So it was like a 1.7 GPA. Literally was writing a paper the last day of school that like had to get graded in order for me to graduate. So no, I was a terrible high school student. College student, it really good as that I cared. Then, there was an age difference. I wasn't like 20. I was 27 when I started college.
Yeah, I
really didn't do anything. Nothing useful in that time. But so nobody would have contacted my parents.
Well, even
about
when you were teaching, did they have any system like that?
Yeah, we would contact parents. Yeah, and it kind of fell on deaf ears. I taught here in St. Louis Public, actually right up the street from where you live at Central VPA.
Yeah.
So
that was just a system that they had in my school. Like the term ended, you had a C or below, they'd send an email to your parents. So every 2 months, I would get a fucking text like this long from my dad, like, "You're dead when you get home," blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But that album came out the same day that email came out. So I get the text in the morning. He's like, "I'm picking you up after school. You're fucking grounded." Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just waiting to get chewed out. And I get in my dad's car, and that song was playing.
Wow, what are the odds?
He was like, "All right, I'm mad, but Sturgill just put out an album. Let's go get Slurpees and hang out." And like, it just completely de-escalated the entire situation. And like, my dad playing music, like, especially when I was in high school and he was single, like, he was gone a lot. So like, that kind of album definitely just kind of connected. Kind of
reminded him like, hey, maybe I need to back off a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know your dad's like high school background? Did you have this conversation? Like, was he kind of like?
Yeah, he was a better student probably than I was, because his mom was actually my principal in elementary school, but she's always been an educator.
Okay.
And so my grandpa too, he was in the military, but he was a superintendent at one point and also a principal of the school. So they were very much on top of him, and he was an athlete and stuff. So he had to make grades.
Your dad was an athlete.
Yeah.
What did he play?
He played baseball and football. And
now you played high school too, didn't you?
Yeah, I played high school football.
Yeah.
And he was really good at baseball. He played in college and tried out for a few major league teams. He just messes me up.
Who, your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did he play college at?
In Hannibal LaGrange.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
cool.
But yeah, he was probably a better student than I was, but you know, during just my situation and stuff, like my parents got divorced in freshman year, so like after that, it was just kind of,
you were just kind of a mess.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, you're clearly having success now.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah,
it was looking real bleak there for a good minute. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, that's how it's funny how fast things can turn around sometimes, you know, and you just think that like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's some things that are going well for me, and it's like, how did this even happen, you know? And I've been through those, and you'll have the, you know, like I had a friend of mine who studied philosophy. He and he's computer science and philosophy, so there's a combo for you. So like really like led to like AI kind of things, but he's not really into AI that I know of. I haven't talked to him in a while. And he said, he asked me this question one time, so I'm going to ask you, and this really isn't anything to do with the podcast, just hear me out. He said, would you rather have ups and downs and have your life be like a roller coaster, or would you rather have like a flat, even thing?
No, yeah, the ups and downs definitely make it, you know.
And he wanted to have, he wanted to have that. And I was like, no, the ups are worth it, man. The swings, you know. For
sure.
The swings are hard. In comedy, the swings are hard.
Yeah.
Like not getting booked, you know, not getting called back, or you ask people to do something and then they don't get back to you or something like that. You know, that's hard. That's hard to deal with because it's hard not to take that personal. What are some lyrics? So let's get back to the song. We sidetracked. That's fine. What are some of the lyrics in the song that like really strike out to you? Because I just there was like you could just pick like every sentence in there was a great line. Yeah, you know,
like I definitely do what I say, not what I've done. That was one that like even my dad was like that, like you know, like listen to that, because like that's the thing. My dad, like, you know, he was probably a good student, but he was a kid. He was from Arkansas and shit. Like, you know, just he used to drive around throwing water balloons at people out of his Jeep in high school. So like, and that's the thing too, like him being a musician, like he's out like you know, like he's drinking and stuff, but that's just part of the job. But, like he did like kind of make a point to be like, this is what I'm doing, but also make sure to set an example for my son and like, you know, try to make him better than me.
No, that's a good one. Does your dad, okay, so while we're just talking about your dad, we're just setting him out here. Hopefully he doesn't find this. Is he, so we talked about this with another comic earlier, Will O'Donnell, who you know. We were talking about drinking before stage or whatever. Yeah. And how it's just, it's not frowned upon at all. Like, no, the club they'll get you plied up if you wanted. Yeah. But it's a terrible idea. Yeah. Does your dad drink before he performs?
Probably a little bit.
Maybe like one or two, but nothing. And
like throughout, but he's also like a professional. Like that. Yeah. My dad used to say this all the time. Like, if you're gonna drink, you can drink. Just be a professional.
Yeah.
And like
it's good advice.
Yeah, and especially when they're playing songs and stuff, you got the whole band behind you. Like, they know their set. They can lock in. And drink. And that was the thing of the national anthem, like the home run derby. Yeah. And she like botched it, and she had to go to rehab. I was drunk and stuff. Right. All the pictures that came out of like Mick Jagger with a bottle of Jack Daniels and 7 beers on the amp, like you know, it's just like, all right, musicians can.
But then you hear stories on like how bad some shows are. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure, there's a line.
There's you know, a Creed, and I don't know if you know who Creed are or whatever. But Scott Stapp, I think is his name, the lead singer, like was having some really bad shows. Yeah, and it was like, okay, like you do need, you know, she needed to go to rehab, or if that's. Whatever. I mean, you can't get hammered, and then try and do this. No, yeah. And you can't do that in comedy either. Like if I have like 2 or 3 drinks, I'll start slurring words, and I notice that when I'm on stage, and I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need to drink before I go on stage. But as soon as I'm done, it's like you're hanging out, and it's a social setting. You know, that's fine. And if you have 1 or 2 before, I'm not judging you.
No, I know. Yeah. I'm still gonna fucking drink.
Whatever you say, Jeff, I don't care.
I get hammered before every show.
No, so some of the ones that stuck out to me was you know, don't burn your lantern in both ends, or you know, at the same 2 lanterns at the same time. Yeah, which is the, you know, don't burn the candles at both ends, but at the same time it's like you only have so many resources, and if you're just using them up just to use them up, you know. He specifically says don't stay off the drugs. At one point he just says it outright, and he's like, don't do drugs, you know. It's like, it's weird to hear a country and western singer just say that outright. Yeah, you know,
I think he's for sure referring to like the hard.
Yeah, well, he says stay off earlier in the song. He says stay off the hard stuff. Yeah, and you know, and keep between the lines. Yeah, which is good advice if you're driving home. Yeah, after a show or hanging out with friends. But then, like I said, later on, that like last verse or the second last verse, he says it specifically. He's like, stay off the drugs, you know? And it's like, I always used to joke with people, I love music. And a lot of the singers that I liked from like the 90s had severe heroin problems.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And I told Jack played bass for a little while and was like looking like he might get a band. I was like, look, I don't care if you smoke weed. I joke about it on stage actually now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be cool about it, being a dad, but I'm really not. But it is what it is. And kids are going to do what they're going to do. Yeah. Anyway, point is, I was like, I get that people do weed. I do. I don't do weed. I don't drink. I don't do weed. I just smoke. Yeah. But it's like, don't ever do heroin.
Yeah. Literally,
like, just stay away from that one. I'm like, it'll make you a great singer.
Yeah.
But you won't survive it. You know, very few people survive like the heroin junkie phase of their career.
And that's the nice part about kind of drug education now. I think like there's a lot of addicts who blame like the DARE program because they got scared off of like weed and stuff like that. And they made it sound like you're instantly going to be addicted to everything. And then, of course, you smoke weed and you're like, oh, I'm fine. And they also lied about everything. And then they tried the harder stuff because they were like just down.
But come on. I mean, you're excusing yourself. You're excusing your like. There is a comic that we know that won't do anything sober, and you get like 2 drinks in them, and like sky's the limit on what they won't do.
Yeah.
Like all bets are off.
Yeah.
And there's a few people like that here in the city, but but that's on you. That's not the DARE program. Like, I get that you're terrified of, like, I'm, you know, the DARE program was implemented when like I was in high school or in grade school. So it's like, I'm absolutely terrified of all drugs, but it's not, but it was more like seeing like my favorite singer, one of my favorite bands is Depeche Mode. I don't know if you listen to him or not, probably not. In 96, 97, he OD'd and died. And they brought him back. And for some reason, MTV got a hold of him like the day afterwards. Jeez. And he's like, this isn't a joke. He's like, this is the worst thing to ever happen to me. He's like, don't ever do drugs. And I was like, I was already 20 or something. But I was like, okay. Yeah. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you convinced me. You know, that's better than their program. Just have these people like come out and give their testimonial, you know.
Well, especially since like, especially in the 90s, rock was still like, rock stars were just getting old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was still a thing. You could be a rock star.
Yeah.
You know?
But like now we kind of have more of a full understanding of just like, oh yeah, Elvis and Johnny Cash, they were all on pills.
Oh yeah.
Jerry Garcia, they were like all doing heroin. Like it's just like, you kind of see the bad patterns that people have put before themselves.
I was talking to Becky about like amphetamines in baseball. So like in the 70s and 80s, you could buy amphetamines over the counter. They were like diet pills. So, and then like mini tabs, and then they finally pulled the plug on mini thins or whatever, because it was amphetamine. It was speed. Yeah. Like legal speed, which is awesome.
Yeah.
As long as it was legal. But they used to have them in the clubhouse. Like they call it a bowl of greenies because they were green pills, and then people just pop them. Now it's Adderall. You know, now that's what the baseball players are on now. It's like they have those Adderall prescriptions, and they can see the ball perfectly while it turns because time is slower for them. You know?
Dude. Yeah, thank God. I've never been a uppers guy. Yeah. I'm very thankful for that. And like people like Adderall is like, it's so prescribed all the time. And like, I feel like I would focus on the wrong stuff. Like I would be playing video games all day and not actually. Like,
I had a friend who had an Adderall prescription, and I was like, what is it like? And he's like, dude, I'll play Doom for like 20 hours straight. Yeah. And he's like, I love it. And I was like, that sounds terrible. Yeah. But also sounds good. Yeah. Sounds like fun. Yeah, what else struck you about this song? So you and your dad like got together on it. You have these great lines in there. What else? Like, so you chose it for that reason, but what else? Do you listen to it now?
Yeah, I listen to it all the time. A lot of his music. He's one of my favorite musicians because growing up, like my family's from Arkansas. I grew up kind of divorce style, half and half in Arkansas. So I grew up with like Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson. Yeah. His Sturgill's like first couple albums are like, one's like regular kind of outlaw country from the 70s. It sounds a lot like Waylon Jennings. Yeah. His second album is like more psychedelic, a little bit weirder. And then the album that this song is on, it's like a neo soul record almost. And
big R&B, like traditional R&B, not like your, you know, R&B that people consider R&B today, but that's what they used, rhythm and blues. Like you had a rhythm section and a blues horn section, and you were Blues Brothers is always the reference that people can. Oh, Blues Brothers, the big band sound. Yes, that's what the song was. And I love the Blues Brothers, like as a band, and that's like my favorite comedy movie of all time.
I quote it all the time. Orange Whip. Yeah.
I hate Illinois Nazis.
But what struck me, it was like, it's cool to see, number one, an artist do something different every time, but also like have a Southern accent, something like I'm accustomed to in his music, and then blend other types of songs and like do something else that nobody else is doing.
Yeah, more people should do that.
Yeah.
Have you seen him live?
I've not seen him live. He's coming in October. I'm going to try to go see him at the Fox.
You haven't got tickets yet?
No. They're like $100, so I'm just waiting to get paid and be a little bit more comfortable with myself. But I was going to see him before the pandemic. He was going to come through and with his new albums like Sound and Fury, which is like a rock, hard, kind of pretty cool album. And then he was going to do with Tyler Childers. At the same time, I don't know if you know.
I know who he is. I couldn't name you a song to save my life.
But I like both those guys. They were originally going to go on tour together, but then the pandemic happened. So, but he recently had vocal cord surgery. Oh wow! So like he's just now kind of starting to get on the road after the pandemic and everything.
That's scary, man. Like you get, you know, like there's so many singers that like don't sound good. Yeah. We saw ZZ Top before the end. I mean, I think they're still going as ZZ Top. Like they're not supposed to be, but like. We heard him and it was just like, oh my God, like, like the lead singer was just sounded terrible, you know, and it's like, oh, but you still need this check.
Literally. Like, the IRS is fucking on the tail.
Like Chappelle, Dave Chappelle, if you listen to like early Chappelle, like he's got like a very interesting voice. And then when you hear him, like, and then he went away, obviously went to Africa or whatever he went, you know, and in Ohio. But when he came back as a stand-up comic, like you could tell like, the cigarette smoking and the, you know, the hard liquor got to his voice. And he doesn't sound as good. And it's just kind of like, oh man, like I really loved his voice. You know, just the flexibility of it and just the tone. And now it's like, it's just not the same, you know?
I think that to me though, cause like I like it, part of the music that I like is when it's like raw and like not perfect and stuff like that. And I think the cigarettes and the booze bringing his voice down, I think it kind of helped him mature with his act and stuff, like especially equanimity in the Bird Revelation stuff, where he's talking about some more like, he always talked about like serious social topics, but like now he's like kind of like Carlin, he's kind of moved into just actually like talking about it. So I think it does kind of bring a little bit more authenticity to his voice if he was.
Certainly, I'll give you that. Like, no, I mean, I don't have a problem with Dave Chappelle. Yeah, like I know a lot of comics here in this town, especially, like, you know, they're mad, you know, mad for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's always political and it's always like, you know, I don't agree with him, so he's not funny anymore. And it's like, well, that's not true. Like he's still funny.
You're not a comic if you think like that.
Yeah, well, we could have that. That's a that could be an entire podcast. Like, why don't you find this funny?
Well, even if you don't find it funny, like it's still. If you're in this, you have to respect everybody's like ability, and like you should be able to look at the nuts and bolts of a joke and be like, I don't agree with the idea, but sound and technical wise, that's a great fucking joke.
You know? Or the punchline, the payoff is great. I love the thing about Chappelle is like his punchlines are like where he's going and how he gets there. It's just so great, you know.
Starting that special off by doing the punchline first.
And then work backwards. And it's just like, I can do this, by the way. This like you can't.
Exactly.
I couldn't. It's like, oh man, or you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I could talk Chappelle all day. Pro and like like you said, people like their personal opinions get in the way of like what makes a good comic anymore. You know, it's weird.
Or even in music, like the personal opinion of an artist. Like if I was like, well, this is Sturgill's not doing country music anymore. I don't want to listen to it. It's just like, well, then you don't really like the artist. Like,
that's true. That's a good point. All right, so the second half of the show of the podcast, whatever you want to call this. I mean, recording, so it's technically a show, but it's a podcast. I don't know what you call things anymore. Like everything, they renamed everything, and I'm old, and I just. Like back in my day, it was a show. Now it's a podcast, but it's got cameras, you know. And that I give you a song in response. All right. And what was the song that I gave you?
Hero's Death
by
the Florence. Not Florence. Well, it starts with an F.
It does start with an F. Yes.
It ends with a DC.
It does end with DC. We're good. We're almost there. I'll give it
something like that. It's
Fontaine's DC.
Fontaine's DC. Okay.
Fontaine's DC. Yes. What do you think?
I thought it was cool. It's not something I like really listen to a ton because it's kind of like punky, kind of like alt like stuff. But I did think was interesting is the way that he phrases like the lyrics and stuff. Like he's not making really any effort to like stay in rhyme or beat. Like obviously there's a rhythm to it, but it's like it's off from the band, and I think that's interesting. It's almost like when a rapper, like a country artist, like is more like storytelling, like talking over the music at the same
time. A lot of talking.
Yeah.
Like he's not really singing. The chorus is sung, and then they've got the background singers doing the thing, but he's just talking to you.
Yeah.
There's the way I found this song, and the way I found this song is how I found Fontaines DC. Quickly becoming one of my favorite bands. Yeah. Like seriously, they just put out a new album. You're not going to listen to it. It's called Romance. I recommend it to everybody who's not into outlaw country. It's amazing. And I didn't choose them just to talk about them. I chose this song because it's a similar song. Yeah. It's an extremely similar message. Where it's not, it's like stay between the lines and you'll be all right. This one specifically says, here's how you get a hero's death. Yeah. Like, here's the things that make you a great person. And that's how he ends it. Maybe you'll have a hero's death. Yeah. Which is just kind of like just crazy. It's like, you don't think of it. Everyone thinks that, comedians joke about this a lot. First person syndrome. It's a very common thing. A lot of comedians don't talk about it on stage, but you joke around with other people. It's like, I'm the main character. Yeah. And you are. But you don't, no one wants you to live that way. No, you're not supposed to be shoving people in front of lines. You're not supposed to be knocking people down to get the first, but you are the main character in your own story. Yeah. The problem is because when you force that on other people, and then you're a problem, but you never think of yourself as a genuine hero. Yeah. Most people don't. I know some people do. Yeah. Those people usually have issues. Yeah. But it's like, he's sitting there and he's just like, life isn't always empty, You can do these things.
Exactly. And that's the thing that kind of stuck with me is you can do these things. Like it's on you to like do that for yourself.
Was there anything in any line or anything like that kind of like struck you?
And like the second verse where he's like, throw your hair down from the tower. Yeah. Like that, especially, I feel like it's a great metaphor for just like, leave yourself open to like go on to like do more things. Yeah. And even like the music video too. It's got Littlefinger from Game of Thrones in there. Yeah. But like I like that they choose a talk show host. Yeah. Which I feel is the most shallow. Right. Something you would be like, God, I have to prop up everybody else. Yeah. And stuff, and then he starts cracking, and he like.
Yeah. It just really starts falling apart. And he's like living, and he's realizing I'm just doing the same thing every single day, and things could be falling apart around me, and I can't notice because I'm just doing. I didn't see the music video until like a year or two after I'd heard the song. The way I found them is they were on The Tonight Show. Yeah. And they filmed it like a video because it was during the pandemic. Yeah. So it wasn't even filmed in LA. It was like filmed in Ireland. So they're Irish. Nice. If you couldn't tell by the thickest of Irish accents that he can't get away from to save his life. But it was like he was at the bar and he was like singing karaoke and the band was like in the back. And he's just like singing this, and the lyrics are actually coming up like karaoke. Yeah, it's such a cool little video. And I was like, man, these lyrics are just incredible, though. It's like, bring your own 2 cents. It's like, and don't pay for, and don't pay for someone else's. I'm not quoting it completely right, but it's like, bring your own 2 cents, have your own opinion. Do these things, like, buy yourself flowers. It's like, I never have bought myself flowers.
And I mean, talking drugs earlier,
yeah,
during the pandemic, I was on a lot of mushrooms here and there, and I was on antidepressants. So when you take mushrooms while you're on antidepressants, it suppresses it a little bit.
Suppresses which one?
The mushrooms.
Okay.
So because like I think it's the serotonin receptors in your brain. They're like kind of like being managed by the antidepressants, but that's what the mushroom plays off of to like get you tripping. But I took a whole lot one day because I was like, I'm gonna feel something, and I tripped really hard, all the goofy, fun psychedelic stuff. But at the end of it, something that like I think really like helped change my life, and it's a very stoner kid thing to be like mushrooms turn me around, but like it really did imprint that like if you want something in this life, like the only person who can make it happen is you.
Yeah.
And like it's all on you at the end of the day. And like it helped kind of change my mind, because I've always hated like kind of the victim mindset of like, oh, this is all,
it's always somebody else's fault.
Exactly. And it's like, dude, you're the common denominator in every situation that you're in. And
I knew a girl a long time ago, and we just like hung out. We're all in the same friend group, and she was like complaining about. She's like, every guy does X, Y, and Z, and every guy does this. And it was a weekend of a friend's death. And I don't know like if you've ever gotten this, but there's a certain point where I've had enough.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's ever come across to you, or you see me kind of be like there, or you kind of realize like, it's in me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just turned and I was like, no. I'm like, it's you. Yeah. You keep looking for this guy. I joked, I had an old joke I haven't used in a long time, but it's like, I've dated the same girl. They just have different names.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people don't realize that. You know, it's like, you're dating the same person. You're looking for X, Y, and Z in these people, or you'll bring it out of them. Because some people will do that. They'll turn you or change you to get what they want, to get the fight that they want, you know?
Yeah. But it is like dating the same person, like, you know, your type, whatever you're into. But it's also like, hopefully if you're doing that, you're like, okay, well, I've dated this person. This is what I didn't like out of this relationship. Let's hope that the next one.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're the common denominator.
Yes.
So please, at some point, yes.
You have to choose.
If you can grow as a human being.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people don't. Okay, so this is the difference in age. Yeah. Some people, in fact, don't change.
Yeah.
And they don't grow.
Yeah.
And everything's, and a song like Hero's Death isn't like a message that resonates with them at all. Or don't sweat the small stuff, you know, or you know, or stay between the lines, or you know, it's like it doesn't resonate with them, because why would it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, step the drugs, you know, they're sparking up or whatever, you know, or, you know, there's a line about taking care of calling your mom, you know, and taking care, you know, like at some point your parents aren't going to be here. And all I have left is my dad, and my mom's gone. So it's like, you wish you can't go back in time. You can't call her back up and say, hey mom, you know?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if we're gonna get real, this doesn't, obviously your mom's passed away, so this isn't like a trauma trying to top you.
We'll be okay. But, no, you can please one up me.
Yeah, no, not at all. My mom and I, she had a pretty bad drug problem, and like was one of those people where it was never her fault. It was always like, I'm the victim and stuff like that. And after high school, I like cut her off. We haven't talked in 4 years. And like, that is the thing of like choosing who you want in your life, which like, it's a hard thing to do when you're 19. Yeah. But it did kind of help me set standards for what I want and who I want in my life. Yeah.
No, like absolutely. Like, you made the right decision, and you probably every day you probably realize even more and more how right of a decision you made. You know, and it's hard to make that like in the moment. Yeah. You know, I've gone like low contact with my family before, and it's like, you don't want to do it, and you feel bad about it. At the same time, it's like, I know what happens when I make this phone call or when I reach out, and then when things go bad for you, I'm going to be the reason why it's bad. Exactly. And I'm not doing anything. No. I just exist. Yeah. So I mean, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. I don't feel like you one upped me, you know, because you can still repair
She's
things.
Alive. Yeah.
You know, but
but yeah. And that's the thing of like the hero's death is just like the maturity to cast people out, but also the maturity to like bring them back in.
Yeah. And you're seeing, you firsthand are seeing that you're making right decisions. And you're, you know, like as an older guy who's just lived life to a younger guy who's got this whole world ahead of him, like you are making right decisions. And like, you may or may not believe it in the moment. Yeah. But like, you know, you had 3 shows last night. Yeah. You know, and for most people, like I was at home. I had something going on, but this, you know, it's like, I'm not where you're at for a lot of reasons. And I know those reasons. Not every comic knows why they're not where they're at.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a fairly good understanding of where I'm at and why I'm there, and I'm not okay with it, but I can't do anything about it right now. I'm in some classes. I'm doing some things. I got a job I got to worry about. You know, like I've got things.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm older. It's, you know, this is a hobby.
Yeah.
You know,
but that's the thing. Life is not empty.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
A whole bunch of shit that you're taking care of. And
Yeah,
the
exactly.
ups and downs and stuff. Because like, I had 3 shows last night, and it's pretty cool. And I mean, I would have killed for it like a year ago.
Yeah,
and that's the things of the ups and downs. And
when you were going to the 3rd show, you're like, oh God, I'm done.
Not really.
Good.
I was after the first show. I was kind of because it's Thursday shows are always light, but it was just 6 old women like looking at me like this for 20 minutes, and that it feels like describing jerking off to your grandmother when you're bombing in front of old people. But like the ups and downs, I went to Helium and there was only like 10 or 11 people in the crowd, but I did a longer set. I did 30 minutes. And it went way better, and it's like like. It is cool, and it's another thing. It's what you make it. Yeah. Like I could have easily been like, well, that sucked. I guess the rest of the night is gonna suck. And that's the thing I like about being a comic and all the rejection that I'm sure you face and I face in our lives.
No
like,
rejection whatsoever.
Yeah.
Everything's just been smooth sailing, buddy. No, every day that you're not getting called, every day that you see like your friends posting shows that they're doing, feels like a rejection. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's those are the swings that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kill for those things. You kill for like you won. Like, you know, we opened with you talking about your victory, which I honestly thought you would. But it's kind of interesting to talk about like what we talked about, these 2 songs. And the first thing you said, your biggest accomplishment was that your parents understand. Yeah. Which I think speaks volumes on who you are as a human being. Because you could have opened with, I'm the king of St. Louis right now. I'm the king of St. Louis comedy. And I know there's other comics that would open with that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you open with, my parents accept me. And then we talk immediately about a song in a situation where your dad kind of accepted you, and then kind of accepted, oh, I kind of did this. Like, you are my son. And, you know, I always say that it's like, I'm my father's son. Yes. And you are, and I'm not completely my father's son, you know, because he's not my dad. That's a whole thing. That's a story. But you take goods and bads of your parents, and you become a different person. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you pick up on the things you don't even realize, and that acceptance is so important. You know, it's like, you know, I'm trying to do this. It doesn't make sense right now, but maybe it will. And I would love for you to be on board when it does. Yeah. And so for the fact that it did for you and it's working out is awesome. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And it's totally understandable to be like, don't do this. Like, I totally get my parents being like, this is a bad idea. How, okay. So let's talk in the future, right? Jack has a son. How do you raise a son like your dad did, like on the road and everything else, or do you like settle down for like 5 years and say, I got to make sure you get done right? Yeah, that's the thing. I'm gonna lie, I don't think knock on wood, I don't want to ever really have kids. Okay. Like that's fine. Yeah, I got my own problems, and like especially now, I'm so scared of failing in everyday life. Yeah. I can't imagine the pressure of now I have to create a human being and lead them on. Creating the human being is the easiest part of the equation. That is, but being the father to that person, like I don't know, like if I did have a kid, I would like to think that I would, because being a comic in like being a professional comic, shows are on the weekends. Maybe you live in New York or something, you have shows throughout the week, but most of the time, like, you don't have a day job. Yeah. So you get to be at home and stuff like that. And like, so Chad Daniels, you ever listen to him? No. Oh man, he's great. Okay. Look up his stuff. He's a Minneapolis comic. And like when Pandora kind of kicked off, he was in that wave of guys who were getting a lot of play. And like his career took off, and he never went to New York or LA. Yeah. Something that I really admired about him. And he always took summers off, because his kids had summer off for school, so he would stay home and be there for them. Okay. And do that. And I think that's a really cool roadmap. But also the hard part is being realistic and being like, well,
if I want to have a nice career and I want to take care of my family, I'm gonna have to be away from them to do it.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean, like 120 dates isn't out of the ordinary.
No, yeah.
You know, or 48 weekends a year. You know, looking at it in terms of those numbers.
Yeah, and that's the goal.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the part about being a comic. Like, we are narcissistic. Like, we do need that. Like,
yeah.
You know, like if I don't
there's the ego. I wouldn't call you a narcissist.
Yeah, it's like deep seated though, and like because outwardly I don't try to be like it's all about me.
Yeah.
But, like, when I am on stage, it's like this is my time, and like I'm awkward in day-to-day life, but stand up, it's like okay, it's my turn to talk.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like hopefully I don't have a kid and fuck it all up. But yeah,
I'll knock on your behalf.
Yeah. But yeah,
having a kid wouldn't necessarily fuck it all up. Just FYI.
Yeah, I know. And
okay.
Like if it ever came down to it, and especially like if I ever got like older and I just wanted to adopt.
Yeah.
Too. Like because my dad's adopted.
Okay.
And so is my uncle, and like
that's cool.
You know, it is a cool, like meaningful thing to do.
Absolutely.
And so like if I ever got to a point where I was comfortable and I knew I had time to like be there, like I think that's something that might be in the cards.
All right, so we covered your song. And what is it again, just so everybody can find it?
Keep It Between the Lines by Sergio Simpson.
Yes. And then I gave you a song, which is, and I'll say it because you can't, apparently, is A Hero's Death by Fontaines DC. And I think the mesh was good. Yeah,
it's a good existential episode.
Just to kind of talk about, how to raise kids and how to be a human being yourself, which is a good way. And then maybe you can have a hero's death, I kind of doubt either one of us will, but roll the dice. And we talked about comedy and everything else. So I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
You want to look in this camera here and give out your socials, how to find you online so that people can follow if they want.
Yeah. I'm at Jack Wright Comedy on Instagram, Jack Wright, just on Facebook. It's with a W, WRIGHT. Then I'm Stand Up Jack Wright on TikTok, but when do you think this will come out?
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, well, just look on my Instagram. I post shows and stuff on there, and you can catch me around St. Louis or Midwest. I'll be doing Flyover Comedy Festival in November.
Could be out by then.
Could be out by then?
Could be out by then.
Yeah, come to Flyover.
Fingers crossed.
Actually, cool announcement. I started a show with my friend Chris Oliver at City Winery, Wines and Punchlines. This year, Wines and Punchlines will be part of Flyover Comedy Festival.
Oh, congratulations.
So, thank you very much.
Is it going to be at the Cedar Winery? Or?
Yep, City Winery.
Awesome.
It kind of worked out where it's like literally like right on the edge of the Grove.
Yeah.
So and it's a nice like 200.
Yeah, no. So Becky actually went and saw you guys.
Yeah, I remember that.
So when you had Rafe headline.
Yeah.
They went and seen Rafe. So Rafe Williams, very funny guy, local comic.
Shout out. Yeah.
Shout out Rafe Williams. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We'll do this again. And so we always close out with the same thing. If you like the show, tell a friend. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Somebody like, I'm a comedian, this is my art. And you're like, well, okay, I've heard you talk about abortion. Let's not. And I was just fat as fuck. And I looked in the mirror and I'm like, it's 11:45 a.m. I need to change.
Creating the human being is the easiest part of the equation.
That is,
like legal speed, which is awesome.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Fun times.